lies, bigotry, and the inevitability of the Bible, of the Torah. The whole world seems to be crazy. Truth stares you in the face. ISIS, or Islamic State, beheads a man openly, telling you who they are in a brutal and horrific way. This isn't Danny Pearl the Jew. This is Foley the American. What ISIS did was to show you who they really are. And if ISIS is so crazy and so brutal, what about Hamas? Are they any different? They're the same. So why does Obama and Kerry play footsie with them and say that ISIS is intolerable and we have to get in there and we have to kick them out? The other part that we don't understand is, how come there's so much bigotry? Why is London College Student Union denying Jews rights to join? Why is London College, which sees the danger of radical Islam right there in London, why doesn't it give Israel the same right it gives itself? Why does Jimmy Carter pontificate about how the West Bank is an apartheid state? If the Mexicans that came into the United States would be unleashing suicide bombings, there would be all kinds of problems for people of Mexican descent coming into this country. That's not an apartheid state. That's a state of war, a state of defending your citizens, 20% of which are Muslims. And make no mistake about it, among the dead as a result of the rockets fired from Gaza are some Israeli Arabs. So why is the world so crazy? They behead a man, tell you who they are. They show you hundreds and thousands of mass murders. They show you the civil war in Syria. Why is the world focused only on what Israel does to defend itself? To a lesser degree, Ferguson is similar. I'm not saying that the black young man, Michael Brown, deserved to die. God forbid. But there was a Rabbi Raxon who was gunned down by two black men, and he did nothing to perpetrate their killing of him on a Sabbath morning. Why doesn't the world talk about that? Why are there no protests? Why is President Obama not doing something about getting to the bottom of who killed Rabbi Raxon? The history of the South? How about the history of the Holocaust? The answer is, it's politically correct to criticize white people for racism, it's not politically correct to criticize black people for racism. It's politically correct to criticize Israel for defending itself, but it's not politically correct to criticize Islam. Now that makes no sense. Why is it that way? Why do rational people behave that way? Even more so, why are Jews being lulled into the same bunch of lies and feces? That's all it is. It's a bunch of crap. Why is the American president threatening Israel with cutting off weaponry? You want to know why? I'll tell you. The same reason why Syria, Iran, and ISIS want to attack Israel. Doesn't make any sense. Iran, if it wasn't so crazy, would be wealthy. Syria doesn't have to be so brutal. It could give its wealth and share its wealth with all of its citizens. The Arabs in the West Bank would be much better off if they made peace with Israel rather than warred against it. So why is it happening? Why do you think it's happening? I'll tell you why. Because the Torah says, this is a nation that will dwell by itself and will not worry about what's going on around them among the nations. They can make all the BDS they want. Hear that? Can do all of the boycott Israel, divest, bring sanctions, do all you want. It will help absolutely nothing. You know why it won't help anything? Because God has given Israel everything that it needs. Israel does not need England. England will need Israel. Oh, but Israel needs British weaponry. That's a crock. Israel can create its own weaponry. Much better quality than the English, by the way. It's just more convenient to buy it from somebody ready-made. But Israel is among the world's largest exporters of weaponry. Israel can make all the weapons it needs. Why is all of this happening? You won't believe this. But God promised Abraham that his children will have the land from the sea to the Euphrates River. Yeah, the Palestinians are yelling from the sea to the river, from the river to the sea. That's exactly what's going to happen. Because people will force Israel to defend itself. The American policy doesn't make any sense. Why should the American policy allow for Hamas to stay in Gaza? Why does American policy tolerate ISIS? The reason is buried in John Kerry's threats to Israel. You're not going to listen to me? You're going to have another intifada. That was a sign. Kerry was well aware of what Hamas was going to do. He just couldn't believe that Israel was going to counterattack the way it did. That's why he said, we got to get in there. You know why he said we got to get in there? Because it's part of their strategic policy to keep Hamas with rockets and with tunnels to threaten Israel. so that they can get the concessions that they want from Israel. Why are they doing it? They really don't know why. They think it's because of the Palestinians. It's got nothing to do with Palestinians. It's got nothing to do with fairness. It has to do with the history of the world. The Jewish people have to occupy all of the lands promised to Abraham. Events are going that way. Iran and whoever runs Iraq and Syria, as well as Lebanon stooges, will attack Israel, because part of ancient Israel went all the way up north of Beirut, and it went east toward the Euphrates River. And until Israel gets all of that territory, there won't be peace. Why won't there be any peace? Not because Israel doesn't want peace. The Arabs don't want peace. But why don't they want peace? Because they don't want Israel. And God's orchestrated that so that the land from the Mediterranean, from Wadi El Arish, all the way to the Euphrates, will ultimately be controlled by Israel. The American policy is fearful of an Israel that has the capacity to destroy its enemies, because they see that there will be an emigration from Europe, and a lot of the Jews from America are going to go to Israel, and they foresee 10 to 15 million Jews in Israel. Well, where they're going to go to? Stack them up higher in Tel Aviv? The answer is, ultimately Israel will expand east and north. And they don't want that. So this is their strategy, to neutralize Israel, keep Israel weak. But as I said in the previous video, it's too late, Mr. Obama. Ain't going to happen. God has so decreed, from the sea to the Euphrates. And Israel needs no one else for its own support. It has all the energy it needs, has all the raw material it needs, has all the food it needs. The world needs Israel's technology more and more. And that's why all of this will fail, and the Bible will come true.